I'm a World War II buff, like most guys that are my age. What else are we going to do when we realize that days are over for us? But anyway, so I've read a ton of books, watched a lot of documentaries, and I even listened to Christmas music from World War II. In a way, you could say that I'm fascinated by that moment in history. But I'm sure that nostalgic thoughts that I have about it are far from the reality that people experienced, especially those who were living in that moment. Have you ever wondered if 80 or 100 years from now, that the moment that we are in today, currently, will be discussed the way that we discuss and think about World War II now, and be, romanticized and fictionalized, and kind of have this ideal thing about what it was like, and really we didn't live through it, so we don't know. Well, think about that for a moment. This moment in history will likely be remembered that way in 100 years from now. I was reading some articles yesterday about the new COVID variant and treatments last night, and I began to think about how this moment, when we have so much uncertainty and fear and mental health concerns and school closings and debates about vaccines, those of us who are living in that moment know that from day to day, and social media keeps us updated on everything that's going on. But I wonder how that will be remembered in 100 years from now. We think of World War II as a difficult time now. In 100 years, they'll probably view these days the same way. And we can be pretty certain that much more of today will be documented. I mean, isn't everything 24/7 documented now? At least much more than it was during World War II. So here's the truth for today. You and I, in this moment today, are living in a pivotal moment of history. And my question for us is, how will we respond to this crisis? What would you say to that generation 80, 100 years from now that will be studying this moment in history? What would you like them to know about you, your thoughts? How big a role did your faith play in the decisions that you made? I've talked before on here about making a video recording for generations, because as we know, we're going to preserve all this stuff, and maybe they can come back and watch this video 80 to 100 years from now and look at me going, we need to record these moments. But will they look back and see that this is a time when history records that the churches and faith were strengthened? Will they note how it shifted during COVID? What will be the legacy that the church leaves on this time? You have a role to play in that. On Tuesday, I asked you if you were prolific or proficient in good works, and you can go back and watch that to see what I meant. But one of the reasons in Scripture, I want to wrap up with a verse today, one of the reasons that Israel recorded their history, and it says right there in the text, was so that generations following them would not only learn from their mistakes, but continue to trust God and His faithfulness. I hope that this generation today will be remembered as Psalm 112 says, verses 4 through 9, about that generation. Light shines in the darkness for the godly. They are generous, compassionate, and righteous. Good comes to those who lend money generously and conduct their business fairly. Such people will not be overcome by evil. Those who are righteous will be long remembered. They do not fear bad news. They confidently trust the Lord to care for them. They are confident and fearless and can face their foes triumphantly. Verse 9, they share freely and give generously to those in need. Their good deeds will be remembered forever. They will have influence and honor. May that be true of us today as well. That's 3 for Thursday. God bless. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week.